Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another legal breaking reporting video analysis update for the morning of November 15, 2025, Saturday. Let's get into the morning report by NPR. Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy for all the more legal breaking news that you need to know about.
After a 43-day shutdown, but Congress did not address the expiring health care subsidies that were the central issue in the fight. What comes next for a Congress that has become so dysfunctional? NPR congressional correspondent Deirdre Walsh joins us. Deirdre, thanks for being with us.
Hey, Scott.
House came in and voted for one day after they'd been gone for more than 50. But Speaker Mike Johnson says they're coming back full force. What does that mean?
Well, the Speaker says there are going to be long days and long nights ahead. The big thing they have to deal with is the rest of the spending bills to fund federal agencies. Since the bill the president signed this week was just a stopgap measure, Congress faces another deadline at the end of January to fund federal agencies, or we could be looking at another shutdown. So Congress hasn't shown an ability to pass many year-long funding bills, so we could see another stopgap bill at the end of January.
Of course, Republicans promised to vote on health care by mid-December. What exactly are they going to vote on?
Well, it's worth noting that Senate Republicans promised this vote. There were some informal bipartisan talks in the Senate during the shutdown about how to deal with these Affordable Care Act tax credits that are expiring at the end of this year. One framework this Senate group is talking about would potentially extend these credits for 1 year and then phase in some reforms, maybe limit who's eligible for the tax credits, put in some provisions to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. I talked to New Hampshire Senator Jeanne Shaheen earlier this week. She is a Democrat who's helping lead these negotiations. She wants a bipartisan bill the president will sign. She says she supports some of the changes that Republicans want in these tax credits.
For example,
Yes, it goes a lot faster.
on income.
Like I said, these batteries are dying.
From the premium tax
Please
credit.
stop
And that's
messing around
legitimate.
with shit I
Deirdre,
said.
bipartisanship in
I
the
think
Senate's
it
one
looks
thing,
good
but
there.
the
You leave it
politics
there, please.
for House Republicans certainly are
It's
different.
literally not going to stay there.
Speaker
It's probably
Johnson
gonna sit up in
planning
this stuff.
a vote on
But
health care.
I've got a
Well,
lot
he
of stuff
certainly
to do.
faces pressure from some
Get
of
away
his
from the
swing
gate.
district Republicans
See, now we
who
can
want
see the
some
road.
kind of extension, maybe 1 year on these tax credits. But the vast majority of House conservatives campaign
Yeah,
to
I'm
get rid
gonna
of the
move.
Affordable Care Act, and they don't want to help
I got
extend
enough.
part of it. Speaker Johnson is blaming
No, I
Democrats
You're
for the
stressing
rising
me
costs
out.
of health care.
we
He
call
says
him
when they put
Tails?
the system
He's
into
got
place,
an
he
extra
claims
tail.
that House Republicans has what he says volumes of
But you're
ideas
stressing me
on
out.
reducing costs, but we haven't seen
can
any
name him
actual
Kelly.
details. And based on what he said this week, he doesn't sound like this is something that House is going to move quickly on.
The Republicans
Why
would
don't you
demand a
quietly
lot of
go wake up,
reforms
man?
before anything
Oh,
like that
actually,
was ever
don't.
possible. And we have to go
She's
through that
coming this
deliberative
way.
process.
I'm going to
And of
grab a
course, the
cup.
Speaker has other things to
Come
deal
here.
with.
Come here.
Preeminently right now, a vote to force the release of documents in the Jeffrey Epstein case. How do we expect that to play out?
Right. This issue was forced on the Speaker, and we expected a vote in the House in early December. But with increasing calls from Republicans to get these files out, the Speaker decided to move that up, and there's going to be a vote this week. The politics on this are really bad for the Speaker and the Republican Party in the White House. They're already divided, and this bill is even picking up more and more Republican votes each day, even as top Trump officials were pressuring Republican lawmakers to even block a bill from coming up in the House. The Speaker argues the House Oversight Committee has already been investigating Epstein, and we should say that the documents the committee released are from the Epstein estate. The legislation on the floor this week is requiring the release of the Justice Department's files. We expect this bill to pass easily. The big question is how big of a vote will it get in the House, and is that going to put pressure on Senate Majority
Shut up,
Leader
Nora.
John Thune to take up this issue?
I've been
And
hanging
here's
out
Deirdre
stuff all
Walsh.
morning.
Thanks so much.
Like
Thank
all
you.
this. Yes. Hey, get on there now.
And here's Ron Elving joins us now. Ron, thanks for being with us.
Me?
Good to be with you, Scott. And how does the White House respond to the release of these Epstein emails and the coming vote in the House to release more?
In a word, aggressively. It has been a hallmark of Trump's career that when threatened, he strikes back. When accused, he accuses someone else. And in this case, at Trump's instigation, the Attorney General has announced an investigation of several former officials and Democratic donors who Trump alleges have something to hide with regard to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the obvious way to deal with a lot of this shadow boxing and innuendo would be to release all the Epstein files. Well, that's what candidate Trump promised a year ago, but President Trump has resisted that and driven other leaders in the Republican Party to do the same.
So far, do you think his response has been effective even among supporters?
In a sense, and in the short term, yes. Suddenly we're seeing pictures of the people Trump wants investigated appear on... Here on...
Yeah, you're in my fucking bag, huh? Stay out of there.
And in other media, that reduces the amount of time those media are focusing on Trump and all those videos of him with Epstein. But down the road, it doesn't change the nature of Trump's own involvement with Epstein, and it doesn't stop the calls for transparency that are coming from voters, including more than a few of Trump's own supporters. Now, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, the familiar firebrand from Georgia, she's a Republican representative in Congress and a fierce defender of the president. In multiple interviews, she has said that Trump is misguided in fighting the release of the Epstein files. And that, of course, has drawn ire from Trump. In a long post on Truth Social last night, the president called Taylor Greene, quote, wacky, unquote, and said he was withdrawing his support of her.
Democrats were unable to get an extension of the health care subsidies in the spending bill that just passed. But they say their message, quote, is the fight continues. How's that being received?
It's not enough for the hardcore Democratic voters, and that includes the hardcore Democrats who serve in the House. Most of them rejected the deal that reopened the government. They wanted to hold on to the leverage they got by blocking the stopgap funding bill. That's why we had a shutdown. It may not be much, but it's all the Democrats have right now, with both chambers of Congress and the White House in Republican hands. Ultimately, though, there were just enough Democrats in the Senate who thought the pain of the shutdown had gone too far, gotten too intense, and fallen hardest on recipients or former recipients of food assistance programs. That's not to dismiss the other effects of the shutdown, but only to say that those effects pale in comparison to hungry families. It simply wasn't clear when the hunger of those families was going to change the political calculus for the White House, which is still seeking to block some of the food assistance payments.
Ron, what are you watching for in these next few weeks?
And we should be watching public reaction to all of this. That includes a spike that's coming in the cost of health care for Obamacare users and for many people on Medicaid. Their pain may be real, but will it be felt and shared by enough of the voting public that it changes some minds in Washington? We've already had one round of elections this month that sent some strong political signals, but there won't be any other elections before the next round of healthcare showdown votes in December and in January. But there will be polls. And we know the Obamacare subsidy extensions poll exceptionally well. People want them extended. And we know Trump's own personal approval rating, in an average of all recognized national polls, is lower than it's been before in his second term. There is a sense that he is nervous about voter sentiment. He announced a list of foods, including beef and coffee, would be exempt from tariffs after all, and that might slow down inflation people are seeing in the grocery stores, but it's unclear if it will actually lower any of those prices. And with the midterm elections now just a year away, that is a strong indicator of what we might expect.
NPR's Ron Elving, always good to speak with you. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Scott.
Said stop standing at the door going, oh, you didn't open the door.
Poster. 2 thumbs up.
Who cares,
Pope
bro?
Leo. The Pope meets movie stars and directors at the Vatican today, including Kate Blanchett, Chris Pine, Spike Lee, Viggo Mortensen, Monica Bellucci, to deepen dialogue with the world of cinema, says the Vatican. Pope Leo also revealed his 4 favorite movies. One is 1965's The Sound of Music, with Julie Andrews. Great songs, great curtains, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings, and nuns who sneak under the hood of the Gestapo's cars to remove critical parts so the Von Trapp family can flee Nazi rule in Austria, climbing every mountain as they go. Another is Frank Capra's 1946 film, It's a Wonderful Life. George Bailey, played by Jimmy Stewart, questions the worth of his life standing on a snowy bridge.
Get out of there and leave her
Clarence
alone.
Angel shows him how so many lives would be poor without him. Strange, isn't it? Asked Clarence. Each man's life touches so many other lives. When he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm glad I
The
had
Pope
thumbtacks.
also
Thanks,
lists
Darlene.
1980's Ordinary People, directed by Robert Redford, about the struggles of a family in which one son has died in an accident.
Hey,
The
get out of
surviving
my
son
room.
has tried to end his life. A psychiatrist played by Judd Hirsch tells him, feelings are scary, and sometimes they're painful. And if you can't feel
tree
pain,
right here,
then
the
you're
white
not
one,
going to feel
I'll let
anything
you
else.
have some coffee, but,
And finally,
We're gonna
Pope Leo
send out
cites
see
the
what works.
1997 film
on
Life
the
is
ground
Beautiful.
over there does not work.
Roberto Benigni plays
But I
Guido,
think you have to
a
send it
Jewish
all the way
Italian
up, right?
bookshop
Everything
owner
has to be
sent to
plugged
a
in before it
concentration
actually
camp
works.
with his son.
Or does it just, you're plugging
Guido
in
dances
like
in
1
mugs
second,
to
right?
try to convince the
lights
little
all
boy
free.
it's all a game,
I don't know.
hoping to protect him from knowing the savagery that surrounds them.
I've been doing a lot this
The film
morning.
was honored and popular, but also criticized.
Yep,
for
it
trying
doesn't
to
surprise
strike
me.
laughs from a concentration camp.
I'm sick of it,
Benigni, whose
Darlene.
father had been in a
Dude, that's the
Nazi labor
second
camp,
time
told
this
The Guardian,
morning. I put her
"The laugh
outside,
and
all
the
she does
cry
is
comes
bark,
from
bark,
the
bark,
same
bark, bark,
point
bark.
of the
Come
soul.
here.
No.
Come here.
The Pope's favorite flick list offers nothing
Kilo,
avant-garde
Kiki,
for
let's go.
critics,
Look at
but
the
the
floor.
movies he
Come on, Kiki.
loves are also
Kilo.
not all raindrops
Come
on
on.
roses and whiskers on kittens. They're popular
Guys,
films
here.
that show glimpses of
I've done a lot. I
darkness,
put this up.
and grave historical events. With
the
radar
hell?
cam, they still let in slivers.